STL Today joins us every Tuesday and Thursday. Good morning, Tony.
You know, columnist and rabble-rouser are two of the nicest things people call me.
All right, fair enough. You wrote a story about one of my favorite people in St. Louis, Steve Smith. Now, I've met him a few times. I like him from afar. I love the fact that the guy was born in the wrong time of this century.
He really was. He's just sort of a throwback. You know, the column is about him. He owns the Royale, a bar on the south side, and he's in the process with some partners of buying a place on Del Mar called the Palomino Lounge, which is a traditional African American bar, serves sort of an older middle-aged clientele, and he wants to sort of break the color barrier a little bit, sort of get this city to start living and socializing and working together and that sort of thing, and that's what inspired me about the column. But Steve is such an interesting guy. We drove around North St. Louis Monday night in his 73 Buick Riviera, and it was just awesome because the car, it's a boat of a car, and the car just attracts attention, and everybody's waving and saying hi and you know, wanting to talk about the car. But Steve is a throwback to a different time, a different century, and just an interesting character. He's a great St. Louis character.
He really is, and I mean, he's one of the. I mean, he's sort of like, and I mean it only in that everybody should know him. He's a Beatle Bob type. He's just he walks to a different beat, and he wears a nice old hat, and he drives a nice old car, and he owns a bar that is right out of the 1940s down on Kings Highway. He's a great story.
Well, and here's what I like about Steve. Steve loves his city. He grew up in Chicago, but has lived most of his life in St. Louis. And he loves this city, and he loves to connect people in this city. Every time I spend a little bit of time with Steve, he introduces me to somebody else. He expands my world. And that's what's interesting about his ethic as it relates to what he's trying to do with this new little bar venture that he's purchasing. It's just an interesting thing about St. Louis. St. Louis is talked about as this you know, big small town with all these different neighborhoods that are small towns, and we need people like that to connect us, that connect one part of our small town to another part of our small town, black, white, whatever.
Yeah. While we still have you, Tony, I know this Missouri story is just sort of touching off the suspension of this fraternity, but it almost sounds exactly like the way all of that mess started last year with a truck driving through campus with a racial slur and then the whole thing falling apart. What are your early thoughts as you watch this Missouri story unfold?
My early thoughts are this goes back to Ferguson. It goes back to the Concerned Student 1950 situation, and that is this: if your reaction to racism at the University of Missouri campus is to turn away and say, oh, that's no big deal, this is political correctness, this needs to go away, we need to take back our campus, which is what the reaction from a lot of white Republican politicians in Jefferson City was, then you're missing the point. This is very real. We have a problem with racism in this country. It is being expressed very openly in a presidential race. It happens on campus. We have young black people at our college campus at the University of Missouri in Columbia being called the N-word just walking through East Campus, through the campus by the fraternities. This is a problem. And it's not going to go away just because we appoint the legislative committee and make it go away. It's not going to go away just because we have one Ferguson commission and issue some reports. It's a long-term situation that needs some serious attention. And until we give it that serious attention and take it seriously and talk about it regularly and work on improving our black faculty retention and work on making our community more comfortable for people that are different than us, then this kind of problem is going to happen again and again. It's not going to go away. We've got to stop burying our heads in the sand and think that this problem isn't real. It's very real, and this incident should wake us up again to the fact that we have to deal with it.
It's an interesting take, Tony. I agree with many of the things you say. But is the right way to solve the problem to suspend an entire fraternity for the actions, assumingly, of two people on its porch?
Yes, because you have to start somewhere. The university has got to say to its community, we are listening to you. We are taking this seriously. We understand. And so you suspend, you investigate, you look into it, you give an opportunity to respond. This is where the university actually behaved poorly in the Melissa Click situation. Okay? They went from 0 to 60 real quick, okay? You go through a process. You suspend, you give the university or the fraternity an opportunity to discuss it. You determine whether or not there are students who have violated the honor code or whatever and need to go. And so you just, you go through a process. But you have to say to the community, we are taking this seriously. And note, it wasn't just the university that suspended the fraternity. Its national chapter suspended it too.
Right.
And so, there is some unanimity of thought as it relates to this initial action.
Assuming the facts are the facts, and these two yelled something insensitive, hit the third rail of insensitive slurs towards these two women who were walking by. I agree with you; it's offensive, but the fraternity can suspend them. That's a private organization, but as awful as it may be, do they not have a right to say something racially insensitive to someone walking down the street?
They don't have a right in a university culture to make a group of students feel like they don't belong there. The university has a responsibility from the taxpayers and its parents to make that place a safe community. And so if that sort of behavior is going to take place, then the university is going to have to react. What I'd like to think happens is you have a couple of students who are the ones who perpetrated the act, if indeed all of the facts are what they are being reported right now, and that they feel horrible, and that they want to fix the situation themselves, and that they want to go to the black students and apologize, and that they want to learn from this situation. I'd love to see that happen and have some real healing and some real communication. I don't know the students involved. I don't know, where their heart is, but I hope the university investigates it and says to its black community, we're not going to put up with this.
Tony Messenger, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist, also a rabble-rouser, joins us every Tuesday and Thursday here as a contributor to the Big 550 KTRS. Tony, have a good weekend. Talk to you Tuesday.
You too. Good talk.